The four-armed Velthari commander stood frozen at the threshold of the human cargo hauler, scanning the bodies. 23 casualties, no survivors. Except the cargo itself hadn't been touched, and every airlock on the station remained sealed from the inside. Tharkon pulled his secondary arms closer to his torso, the silver-gray scales along his neck flattening in unconscious unease. He'd fought in 17 campaigns across 9 systems. He'd seen aftermath. This wasn't aftermath. This was a message. "Commander," his tactical officer approached, mandibles clicking in the Velthari equivalent of distress. The human distress beacon was activated 11 hours ago. Transit time from Nexus Outpost Gamma was 9 hours. Tharkon's eyes narrowed. They were already dead when they called for help. "Yes, Commander." He moved through the corridor, stepping carefully around the blood patterns. Velthari protocol demanded documentation. He activated his recording suite. Behind him, 3 more officers fanned out, weapons drawn despite the obvious futility. The cargo bay doors hung open. Inside, 78 sealed containers sat in perfect rows, intact, unopened. Whatever had killed the crew hadn't wanted the cargo. Tharkon approached the nearest body. Male, early 30s by human standards, throat crushed, no defensive wounds. The man's hand still gripped a plasma cutter, switched off, pointed at nothing. "Sir." The tactical officer's voice carried an edge Tharkon had never heard before. "You need to see the bridge." The walk felt longer than it was. Tharkon's 4 hearts beat in staggered rhythm, an evolutionary response to predators his species hadn't encountered in 3,000 years. The bridge door had been torn from its housing, not cut, not blasted, torn, as if something had simply decided the barrier was irrelevant. Inside, the captain sat in her command chair, eyes open, breathing. Tharkon's rifle came up before conscious thought intervened. "Lower your weapon." Her voice was steady, almost gentle. Human, female, dark hair plastered to her skull with dried blood. "You're not my enemy. Identify yourself." "Captain Silas Crane, UEF Commercial Registry 744, Holt Mining Consortium Charter." She smiled, and Tharkon saw her teeth were red. "You're Velthari, Covenant peacekeepers. You came because we triggered the distress protocol. Your crew is dead." "I know." Crane's hands rested on the armrests, utterly still. "I killed them." Tharkon's tactical officer made a sound like grinding stone. The captain's eyes didn't move. "You'll want to know why," Crane continued. "That's what your species does. Analyze, categorize, understand the threat matrix before responding." She leaned forward slightly, and Tharkon noticed the restraints. She'd bound her own wrists to the chair. "So here's what you need to understand. I didn't want to kill them, and in about 40 minutes, I'm going to want very badly to kill you." The recording suite captured everything. Tharkon kept his rifle steady. "Explain." "We picked up a distress beacon, old one, pre-war vintage, maybe 60 years dormant. Found it in the debris field near the threshold gate. Captain's discretion to investigate." Crane's breathing was controlled, deliberate. "There was a pod, small, organic coating. We brought it aboard for analysis." Tharkon felt the temperature in the room drop. Not literally. The ship's environmental systems held steady. But his scales flattened further, and his tactical officer took an involuntary step backward. "It opened during 3rd shift. Medical officer was closest. I was on the bridge when she started screaming." Crane's voice remained level, but her fingers dug into the armrests hard enough that the synthetic material cracked. "I sealed the medical bay, standard quarantine protocol." She stopped screaming after 6 minutes. Then she accessed the intercom. "What did she say?" "Nothing." She laughed. Crane's eyes finally moved, meeting Tharkon's. My medical officer laughed for 14 minutes straight, while the rest of the crew tried to open the medical bay door. And then she cut through it with a plasma torch from the inside, walked into the corridor, and killed the first engineer she encountered with her bare hands. Tharkon's tactical officer checked his scanner. "Commander, life signs are negative throughout the ship, except me," Crane finished. "It spreads through exposure, physical contact, sustained proximity, something in the air when the infected are present. Incubation is roughly 20 minutes. Once you turn, you stay conscious. You know what you're doing. You just can't stop yourself." The cargo hauler's hull creaked softly. Tharkon ran threat scenarios. 47 possibilities, none of them good. "You killed your crew to contain the infection." "I killed my crew because they came at me like rabid animals, and I was armed, and they weren't." Crane's voice finally cracked. "I shot my navigator in the chest, Snap Finch. She had 2 daughters on Helios Array. I shot her, and she kept coming, kept trying to bite me, and I put the second round through her skull." The captain's hands trembled. "I killed 22 more people just like that, and the whole time something inside me was screaming that I wanted to do it, that I wanted to feel their blood on my hands." Tharkon lowered his rifle slightly. "You're saying this is a weapon. I'm saying it's old, older than your species, older than mine, and someone put it in a pod with a distress beacon and left it where we'd find it." Crane's breathing was faster now. "I felt it starting maybe 3 hours ago. First, I couldn't stop thinking about my crew. Not grief, not horror. I kept thinking about how easy it had been, how satisfying." She showed her teeth again. "So I restrained myself, activated the beacon, and waited for someone stupid enough to respond." The tactical officer's scanner beeped. Crane's biosigns were spiking, heart rate accelerating, endocrine system flooding with combat hormones. Tharkon made a decision. "We're sealing this ship. Complete quarantine. No boarding, no salvage." "Too late." Crane's voice was rougher now, strained. "I'm infected. You're here. In 40 minutes, maybe less, I'm going to get loose. And then you'll kill me. But not before I expose at least one of your people." Her eyes were bloodshot. "That's how it works. That's how it spreads. It wants to be killed. It wants you to come close." Tharkon triggered the emergency protocol. His tactical officer and the 2 other Velthari evacuated immediately, moving in precise formation toward the docking tube. He stayed, rifle aimed at Crane's center mass. "Why haven't you killed yourself?" "Because the moment I thought about it, the infection got stronger. It wants me alive until you're close enough." Crane was panting now, her whole body rigid. "It's tactical, it's intelligent, and it's very, very patient." Tharkon backed toward the door. His 4 arms maintained perfect weapon discipline, 2 on the rifle, 2 ready for secondary weapons. "I'm sealing you inside." "Good." Crane's restraints snapped. She didn't stand, not yet. "But tell your leadership something. Tell them this wasn't an accident. Tell them someone is testing it. And tell them—" She stopped, her body convulsing. When she spoke again, her voice was layered, doubled, as if something else was speaking through her. "Tell them humanity remembers." Tharkon ran. The docking tube detached at his command. The Sovereign Wrath, his cruiser, pulled away from the cargo hauler with agonizing slowness. He watched the bridge view screen as the human ship grew smaller. Crane stood at the torn bridge door, watching, waiting. Tharkon armed the long-range plasma cannons. "Commander," his weapons officer said softly, "if this is a biological weapon, we should preserve the specimen for analysis." "No." Tharkon's voice was flat. "We shouldn't." The Sovereign Wrath fired. The cargo hauler came apart silently, vaporizing in a sphere of superheated plasma. No survivors, no evidence, no infection. Tharkon stood at his command station for 17 minutes, watching the debris expand and cool. Then he opened a channel to Covenant Station. "This is Commander Tharkon, peacekeeping vessel Sovereign Wrath. I am filing a Level 9 incident report. Human commercial vessel destroyed under quarantine protocol. All hands lost. Requesting immediate containment fleet and full sterilization of the Threshold Gate debris field." The response came within seconds. "Acknowledged. Stand by for command authorization." The wait stretched longer than it should have. Tharkon's tactical officer checked the scanner feeds obsessively, searching for any sign they'd missed something. The debris field was clean. Nothing escaped. When Covenant Command finally responded, it wasn't the usual coordination officer. It was Elder Brekdar himself, one of the 7 Velthari who'd negotiated the peace accords after the Dracovari conflict. "Commander Tharkon, transmit your full mission log, encrypted channel only." Tharkon complied. The upload took 4 minutes. The silence that followed lasted 3 times longer. When Brekdar spoke again, his voice carried none of the measured, calm Velthari elders were trained to project. "You're certain about the captain's final words?" "Yes, Elder." "The infection made her say, 'Humanity remembers'?" "No." Tharkon watched the debris field collapse into expanding vectors of frozen metal. "The infection used her to deliver a message." Another silence. "Return to Covenant Station immediately. Do not discuss this event with your crew. Do not log it in standard protocols. Upon arrival, you will be debriefed by the Council of Eldest." Tharkon had served for 32 years. He'd never heard of anyone being debriefed by the full council. "Elder, I don't understand." "You will." Brekdar's image appeared on the view screen. The old Velthari's scales had gone almost white. "Because we've encountered this before." Quick pause. "If this story has you hooked, subscribe now and hit the bell. These are made for people like you." Now, back to it. The council chamber was older than the station, older than the current covenant. The 7 eldest sat in a semicircle, their ceremonial robes barely concealing the weapons harnesses underneath. Velthari tradition, Tharkon knew. The elders who negotiated peace were always the ones who'd fought longest in war. Brekdar gestured to the projection field. "What you encountered has a name. In the old records, before we adopted your language protocols, we called it the Unraveling Whisper. Other species had different names. The Dracovari called it the Spite. The Zurani called it the Hollow Voice." He manipulated the controls. An image appeared, a star map marked with red zones, dozens of them. "We thought we'd eradicated it 600 years ago." Tharkon studied the map. The red zones clustered around contested borders, trade routes, military choke points. "This is a weapon." "No." The voice came from Questara, the 2nd eldest. Her 4 eyes tracked the star patterns with obvious pain. "This is the weapon. The thing that ended the Vicarian ascendancy. The thing that nearly collapsed the Lyrathi collective. Every time an advanced species approaches multi-system dominance, the unraveling appears. Someone's deploying it. We don't know." Brekdar's scales shifted through frustrated patterns. "That's the problem. We've never captured anyone using it. We've never intercepted it before deployment. It simply appears in debris fields, abandoned stations, derelict ships, always with a distress beacon, always where curious species will find it." The tactical scenarios were obvious. Tharkon's mind raced through containment protocols, quarantine procedures, threat elimination. The humans need to be warned. The humans already know. Questara activated another projection. Tharkon saw human ships, military vessels, dozens of them, distributed across strategic positions. They've been deploying countermeasures for 40 years, ever since their first colony ship encountered a pod near Helios Array. "Then why?" "Because they haven't told us." Brekdar's voice hardened. "Because when we approach them about the unraveling, they redirect the conversation. When we offer aid, they politely decline. When we insist on joint protocols, They smile and promise cooperation and never actually cooperate. He leaned forward. Commander, do you understand what the captain meant when the infection said humanity remembers? Tharkon felt cold. No, Elder. Humanity is young. 300 years of faster-than-light travel, 5 major colony systems, no significant military victories against elder species. Brektar's expression was grim. They shouldn't have institutional memory of the unraveling. It only appears during ascendancy, and humans haven't reached that threshold yet. Except they had. Tharkon saw it clearly. The humans were expanding faster than any species in recorded history. They'd adapted technology in decades that took others centuries. They'd negotiated trade agreements that put them at the center of 3 major shipping routes. They're ascending now, Tharkon said quietly. Faster than we did. Faster than the Dracovari. Faster than anyone. Questara's scales rippled with something that might have been fear or respect. And someone's trying to stop them. Except the humans aren't dying. They're fighting. The star map shifted. More red zones appeared, but these were marked with additional symbols. Human symbols. Strike patterns. Containment vectors. Every unraveling deployment site had been hit within days by human military forces. Cleaned, sterilized, erased. They're hunting it, Tharkon said. They're hunting its sources. Brektar highlighted 3 zones where human forces had gone deep into unclaimed space. They're tracking the deployments backward, looking for whoever's seeding these pods. The Elder's voice dropped. And they're not sharing what they've found. Tharkon studied the patterns. The humans were good at this, better than good. They moved like a species that had been fighting this enemy for generations, not decades. What did the captain mean by humanity remembers? We believe, Questara said slowly, that humans have encountered the unraveling before, not in space, on their homeworld, long before they achieved spaceflight. The implications crashed through Tharkon's tactical systems. The infection is Earth origin? The infection is old, older than recorded history. Brektar pulled up genetic analysis data. We've compared samples from 6 different deployments. The base organism shares molecular patterns with Earth biology, specifically with parasitic species that modify host behavior. Tharkon thought about Crane. About how she'd restrained herself, how she'd fought the infection long enough to warn them. If it's from Earth, why don't humans have natural immunity? Because it's not from Earth. Questara's scales shifted to deep blue, the Velthari color of profound revelation. It came to Earth, thousands of years ago, and the humans who survived learned to recognize it, to fight it, to contain it before it spread. She met Tharkon's eyes. Commander, humanity didn't develop their military doctrine from theoretical principles. They developed it fighting an enemy that turns their own people into weapons. The council chamber felt smaller. Tharkon's 4 hearts beat arrhythmically. They've been preparing for 6,000 years. Brektar showed images of ancient Earth structures, quarantine facilities, isolation protocols carved in stone. Their early civilizations built systems to contain infection. They developed social structures designed to identify and eliminate compromised individuals. They created religions with rituals specifically focused on cleansing and separation. He looked at Tharkon. And when they reached space and found the unraveling waiting, they weren't surprised. They were angry. Because someone followed them. Or someone brought it here first. Questara's voice was bitter. We don't know which. But the humans believe one of the elder species introduced the unraveling to Earth. That it was a test, or a weapon, or an attempted extinction event that failed. Tharkon processed the implications. If an elder species had weaponized Earth's dominant civilization thousands of years ago, if they'd seeded a world with a biological weapon designed to prevent ascendancy, and if humans had somehow survived it and adapted, they think we did it. No, Brektar's scales hardened. They know we didn't. The Velthari have been meticulous in proving our non-involvement, but someone did. And humans are systematically eliminating every elder species' capability to deploy the unraveling again. The star map shifted one final time. Tharkon saw human military positions. They weren't defending their own space. They were positioned at choke points throughout elder species territories, trade stations, diplomatic outposts, research facilities. They're inside our infrastructure, Tharkon said. They've been inside for 20 years, and they're not invading, they're watching. Questara brought up intercept data. Every time an unraveling pod appears, human forces arrive within hours. They clean the site, they destroy the evidence, and they track the deployment vector backward. She highlighted 3 empty zones on the map. These were Zervek breeding stations. The Zervek specialized in infiltration, long-term deep cover operations. Paper-thin physiology perfect for tight spaces and concealment. Were? The stations went dark 4 years ago. We assumed the Zervek had relocated. The humans never commented. Brektar's expression was carved stone. We now believe the humans identified the Zervek as deployment agents, and they eliminated them. Tharkon's tactical systems recalibrated. The humans weren't just defending. They were prosecuting a war that no one else even knew was happening. How many species have they eliminated? We don't know. Questara's honesty was brutal. We know of 3, we suspect 7 more. All species capable of covert biological warfare. All species positioned along historical, unraveling deployment vectors. And the other elder species? Most don't believe us. Those who do are quietly restructuring their own military protocols to avoid looking like threats. Brektar stood, his full height impressive even for a Velthari. Commander, you encountered a human captain who fought the unraveling from the inside. You watched her maintain control long enough to warn you. You saw what one human can do when properly motivated. He gestured to the star map. Now imagine 5 billion of them, all carrying the cultural memory of an enemy that tried to extinct them at the dawn of civilization. Tharkon thought about Crane, about the message she'd delivered. Humanity remembers. What do? We survive. Questara's voice was soft. We cooperate. We prove we're not the enemy, and we never, ever attempt military contact with human forces. Why? Because they don't fight the way we do. Brektar pulled up combat footage. Tharkon watched human vessels engaging an unknown enemy. The tactics were brutal, efficient, and utterly without mercy. They don't warn, they don't negotiate, they don't leave survivors who might carry infection. The footage showed a human cruiser firing on a derelict station. The station vaporized. They learned 6,000 years ago that some enemies can't be reasoned with. They can only be erased. And if we're seen as that enemy? The council was silent. Finally, Brektar spoke. Then humanity will do what they've always done when faced with extinction. They'll adapt, they'll endure, and they'll kill everyone who threatens them, no matter how many elder species stand in the way. Tharkon left the council chamber with new orders. Maintain distance from human military vessels. Report any unraveling deployments immediately. Never attempt to board or intercept human containment operations. He returned to the Sovereign Wrath and transmitted the protocols to his crew. They asked no questions. Velthari discipline held. But Tharkon stood at his command station and watched the human positions on the star map. They were everywhere. Quiet, patient, waiting. His tactical officer approached carefully. "Sir, The humans have requested a liaison meeting, standard diplomatic protocol. Decline. Tharkon's voice was flat. Politely. They're insisting. They say it's about the incident at Threshold Gate. Tharkon felt his scales flatten. The humans wanted to talk about Crane, about what she'd said, about what he'd seen. He opened the channel himself. The human on the view screen was older, female, dark eyes that tracked every detail of the Velthari bridge. She wore no uniform, but Tharkon recognized command presence when he saw it. "Commander Tharkon, I'm Director Willa Stanton, Human Intelligence Coordination. We need to discuss Captain Crane." "There's nothing to discuss. She was infected. The ship was destroyed." "Yes," Stanton's expression didn't change. "And before she died, she delivered a message. We'd like to know what you think it meant." Tharkon considered his options. Lie, and the humans would know. Tell the truth, and they'd know he knew. "Humanity remembers," he said quietly. Stanton nodded slowly. "Good. Then you understand the situation. I understand you're hunting something, that you believe an elder species is responsible, that you're willing to eliminate entire civilizations to find them." "We're willing to eliminate the threat." Stanton's voice was calm. "There's a difference." "Is there?" "Commander, your people found the first unraveling pod 600 years ago. It killed 3 million Velthari before you contained it. The Dracovari lost 12 billion. The Lyrathi never recovered their cultural identity." Stanton leaned forward. "Humanity found it 6,000 years ago. It kept finding us. Every time we built cities, it appeared. Every time we developed trade networks, it arrived. And we learned something the elder species never did." "What?" "How to recognize the enemy." Stanton's eyes were cold. "We're not hunting elder species, Commander. We're hunting the ones who keep deploying the unraveling. And we're very close to finding them." Tharkon felt something shift in his understanding. "What do you want from the Covenant? Stay out of our way. Don't interfere with our containment operations. And if you find another pod, don't try to study it. Call us immediately." Stanton's expression softened slightly. "We're not your enemy, Commander. But we learned a long time ago that some wars are fought alone." The channel closed. Tharkon stood at his command station, watching the human positions on the star map. They were everywhere, watching, waiting, hunting. And somewhere out there, an ancient enemy was running. Crane's final image stayed with him, standing at the torn bridge door, watching. She'd fought the infection long enough to deliver a warning, long enough to save his crew, long enough to remind the elder species that humanity had survived worse than anything the galaxy could throw at them. Tharkon updated his tactical protocols. New directive. Human vessels have unrestricted transit through Velthari space. No inspections, no delays. His weapons officer looked at him questioningly. "They're hunting," Tharkon said quietly, "and I'd rather not be mistaken for prey." Through the view screen, a human cruiser passed at high speed, heading toward unclaimed space. Hunting. Always hunting. Tharkon wondered if the ancient enemy understood what it had created when it tried to extinct humanity. He suspected they were learning.